A very good day to our lecturer. So my name is Li Yijing and I will be the first one to present our group assignment. So in this assignment, we will be talking about the financial analysis between Digi.com and also Messi Berhad. So I will first talk about the introduction part of telecommunications, which has played an important role for business, governments, communities and families to connect and share information with each other through different electronic devices. So the telecom market is actually expected to grow in recent years due to increasing population, communication service, and adoption of smartphone services. So the recent COVID-19 spike has also caused most of us working from home and also spending more time online, playing games, and so forth. So next, move on to our main focus, which is the financial analysis in the annual report that used to present a company's position at a point of time and its operations over some past period. So it was actually used to provide the information about the financial position, performance, and changes in financial position of the company that is useful to a wide range of users in making economic decisions. So the financial performance analysis is conducted for first for investors who are interested to understand how the company has been performing. Second, for the lenders who are interested to see the ability of the company to remit debt burden. Third, for the government agencies that use financial statements for taxation purposes. And lastly, for the researchers for academic purposes. So move on to the telecommunications sector in Malaysia. So Malaysia has built advanced telecommunication networks to increase the competitive advantages by developing more modern technologies such as fiber optics, wireless transmission, digitalization, and satellite services. So based on the figure 1, the telecommunication sector in 2018 has recorded the highest revenue, which is 35.86 billion as compared to the preceding year of 34.58 billion. That is a 3.7% of increase. So however, the revenue has decreased to 34.8 billion in 2019, which shows a decrease of 5.6% due to decrease of legacy voice and SMS revenue. But it should be noted that mobile service providers has contributed 64% to the telecommunications revenue in the year of 2019. So in this assignment, we have analyzed both Messi Berhad and Digicom Berhad, which is the well-known telecommunication companies in Malaysia, for which their financial statements and annual reports has been analyzed to study the respective financial health. So the background information for Maxis Berhad is the Maxis Berhad is actually founded in 1993 and listed in 2009, and it's the largest communication service provider. So it is a Malaysia-based investment holding industry which currently has over 12.9 million service users, and it is the leading converged solutions provider in Malaysia. So in Malaysia, Maxis users tend to enjoy the maximum superior internet experience, making on voice calls and text by indulging with 4G LTE and 5G ready network technologies in hand. So it is also a telecommunication industry in Malaysia that provide better quality service with larger coverage. So, Digicom Berhad was founded on 24 May 1995 and launched the first digital mobile telecommunications service, which is fully digital GSM 18,000 services in Malaysia. So through a transfer from Time.com in 2008, Digi has obtained a 3G spectrum license with all its rights and benefits with 27.5 million new shares. So Digi provides a variety of mobile telecommunication service such as postpaid and prepaid plans, SMS, international roaming, and fund installment plan. So recently, Digi is putting their priority on the new opportunities such as 5G, AI, IoT, which focus on the growth of the Digi economy. So I will move on to the next one, which is firm risk management. So for the firm risk management has been separating into three categories, which includes liquidity, financial risk, and operating risk. So for the liquidity ratio, it is considered as a firm's daily cash flow that refers to how a company can easily convert their assets into cash when they need funds. So in this assignment, the current ratio and quick ratio will be a suitable indicator to measure the liquidity risk. So the current ratio can be used to measure a company's short-term solvency by understanding their usage of short-term asset to repay their short-term obligations. So on the other hand, a quick ratio can be calculated by using a company's liquid asset to measure their ability to meet their short-term obligations. So in terms of current ratio, both companies has the current ratio less than 1, which shows that they are lacking liquidity asset to pay off its liability, which puts them into an unhealthy conditions, as the CARO is below acceptable range. Decrease in current ratio of Maxis from 2018 to 2019 and DG from 2017 to 2020, which suggesting underlying liquidity problem, which they may be due to the decrease in short-term debt, decrease in current assets, and having problems in managing their inventories, or also ineffective in collecting their cash back. So in 2020, Maxis has recorded higher current asset, indicates that Maxis could use their current assets to resolve short-term liabilities as compared to DG. Assets to resolve short-term liabilities as compared to DG. So in terms of quick ratio, both companies have their quick ratio less than 1, which shows that they are struggling in paying their debts or taking too much risk due to an inappropriate buffer of liquid resources. So decrease in quick ratio of Maxis from 2018 to 2019 and DG from 2017 to 2020, suggesting an underlying liquidity problem such as inability to cover their short-term debts, struggling with paying their debts off, or settling their short-term obligations by using cash or equivalents, and their current assets are depending on inventories. So in 2020, Maxis has a higher quick ratio as compared to DG. This shows that Maxis is better in repaying their current liabilities and have enough cash to pay their expenses and loans. So move on to the next, which is financial risk. It is used to measure in terms of debt, and companies that have more debt issued have higher financial risk. So the common metrics to measure financial risk in terms of its level and overall financial health include debt to capital ratio and debt to equity ratio. So the debt to capital ratio is a measure of leverage of that oversees a company's financial structure on how they capitalize their operations. So a debt to equity ratio can also be can use to identify a company's ability to meet outstanding debt obligations. So the debt to capital ratio is with that we can see that Maxis is lower throughout the years as compared to DG. The lower the debt to capital ratio are preferred, as it indicates a higher proportion of equity financing to debt financing. As such, DG is at higher risk of insolvency as compared to DG, which may due to less cash flow coming into debt obligations. However, since two companies have their debt to capital ratio less than 1, it means that the debt levels are still manageable and less risky to invest or loan. So I'll move on to the next, which is debt to equity ratio. This shows that Maxis has a lower debt to equity ratio throughout the years as compared to DG, especially in the year of 2016, 2019, and 2020. So besides, DG with higher debt to equity ratio indicates that the company is at high risk, as they have been aggressively financing its growth with debt. Generally, a good debt to equity ratio is anything lower than 1 or 2 or higher is usually considered risky. Since both companies have their debt to equity ratio below 2, it is still reliable and considered safe. So next, move on to the operating risk. Operating risk is a risk related to a company's cost structure. So the operating risk can be measured by using the degree of operating leverage, which is DOL, that measures the sensitivity of operating income. So according to the table, DG has all positive DOL, which indicates that the level of business activities exceeds its break-even point. However, Maxis had a negative DOL in 2018, which indicates that the business is operating under its break-even point, which it faces an operating loss. So I will pass to my next teammates. Thank you.
I will be presenting on corporate governance policy, the combination of rules, processes, or laws by which organization are operated, regulated, or controlled. The board of directors involve independent non-executive director, non-executive directors, and executive directors. The role of independent non-executive directors is to provide independent oversight and constructive challenge to the executive directors, whereas the responsibilities of non-executive director include the monitoring of the executive director and acting in the interest of the company stakeholders. Executive directors responsible for steering the organization and managing its operation. By referring to the table 6 and 7, we can conclude that Macy's Berhad has a better corporate governance structure as compared to DG.com Berhad, as it has more board members in their organization structure, which will lead to a better performance of expanding their business.
Hi everyone, I'm Fang. Today I'm going to present about long-term investment. Long-term investment is defined as assets held by the company for a period of more than 1 year. It is an important aspect that we should consider as it determines the sustainability of the firm as well as possibly increase the shareholders' wealth. Now we will look at the past investment that Macy's has done in chronological order. The decision for investment is driven by the demand of the market as well as the market direction. In 2016, Macy's has been actively involved in boosting data consumption among prepaid mobile subscribers by supporting free 2GB internet campaign every weekend for life. Then, Macy's has proceeded with increasing coverage of 4G network in the following year. In 2018, as the real estate industry is growing, Macy's has collaborated with Gamuda Land to provide customized Macy's One fiber plan to ease the residents to pay their bills. Then in 2019, a memorandum of understanding was signed between Macy's and Huawei to execute the nation's first 5G trials. As the nation is hit by the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, Macy's has accelerated the upgrade of network as more people are working remotely with increasing demand for online home and entertainment. For DG in 2016, 4G network was expanded via prepaid, postpaid, and broadband plans. Similar to Macy's, DG focused on providing greater geographical 4G coverage and solving weak indoor signals in 2017. Emphasis of DG investment was then placed on digitalization, such as the development of MyDigi app to interact more with customers and iFleet for business tracking. In 2019, DG has partnered with large corporations such as the Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation and Telekom Malaysia in delivering the use of 5G. Whereas in 2020, DG had allocated its investment to modernize network and support the Penjana program as part of the economy recovery initiative by the government. Capital expenditures, or CapEx, are funds used by a company to undertake new projects or investments. By comparing values between Macy's and DG, Macy's spent higher amount compared to that of DG over the last 5 years, except in year 2017. It is also noted that the capex of Macy's is in an increasing trend since 2017, while DG showed the other way around. From here, we can infer that Macy's demonstrated a stronger effort in long-term investment, hence potentially promoting shareholders' wealth.
Then, the profit and market value of both companies will be explained as well. The net profit margin is to show how much profit gained by the company from the sales. Net profit margin of Macy's and DG are showing a decreasing trend from 2016 to 2020. The drop of DG is not as drastic as compared to Macy's. The company is not doing well at converting its revenue or sales into profit for shareholders. The low ratio may be result from ineffective management, high costs, and weak pricing strategies. Next, the return on equity (ROE) computes the profitability of a company by revealing how much profit a company generates with the invested capital shareholders. ROE of Maxis and DG are showing a declining trend from 2016 to 2020. DG has been able to produce a high net income relative to the shareholders' equity as compared to Maxis. This suggests that DG is better at generating shareholder value by investing its earnings wisely, thus leading to higher productivities and profits. Unlike ROE, the ROA takes into account a company debt. The ROA of DG has a similar trend when compared to Maxis, where both companies are facing a decreasing trend since 2016. The decrease of ROA can also be related to the total debt and liabilities associated. Moreover, the analysis show that both DG and Maxis have performed satisfactorily in adding shareholder wealth as the Tobin Q value remains positive across the 5 years from 2016 to 2020. However, on a decreasing trend, the value of Tobin Q for both companies are greater than 1, which considers as high Q. It indicates that the firm's stock is more expensive than the replacement cost of its assets, which implies that the stock is overvalued.
Next, I will talk about return to shareholders policy. The return to shareholders policy aims to enhance the value of shareholders by maximizing corporate value over medium to long-term investment in order to return shareholders the value of the company has produced through its economic operations. Hence, the dividend per share DPS and earnings per share EPS are used to measure companies' profitability. The DPS is used to determine the dividend yield, whereas EPS is used to measure success and performance of a company and used as a metric for valuing how much money the company gained with each share. We also calculated the dividend payout ratio to better illustrate the ratio of the total amount of dividends distributed to shareholders relative to the net income of the company. Normally, the amount that is not distributed to shareholders is retained by the company to pay off debts or to reinvest in core activities. So generally, Maxis declares interim dividends based on a variety of criteria, such as annual business income, capital expenditure, financial status, distributable measures, and etc. And it has to be approved by the shareholders. Maxis Berhad has adopted an active capital management, which is residual dividend policy. And under this policy, governed by Malaysian Generally Accepted Accounting Standards, GAPP, the company will aim for a payout ratio of not less than 75% of its consolidated profit in each calendar year. So this was done with goal of allocating free resources for research and development and network expansion to create opportunities for their objective of leading the Malaysian telecommunication industry together with the Industry 4.0 initiatives, delivering fiber internet and 5G soon across the country for their consumers and companies. And this is to align with their goals with the government digital economy strategy. So from the table 15 below, we can see that the highest dividend payout ratio is up to 103.6% with a DPS of 20 cents and EPS of 19.4 cents. And normally, what we can see, the dividend payout ratio is for Maxis ranges from 70% to 104%. All right. On the other hand, DG Berhad has been practicing a minimum payout ratio known as a constant dividend policy, where the company would pay a certain or preset minimum percentage of its earnings as dividends. So they have also revised the minimum dividend payout ratio from 50% of the net earnings to 80% of net earnings, respective fiscal year 2010. And the frequency of dividend payout has also increased from semi-annual payment to quarterly payment. So they uses two dividend payout method, which is via dividend tax vouchers where the investors can use it later for self-tax assessment, and e-dividend, where the dividend payout is paid directly to each investor bank account. So any unpaid dividend is also governed by the Unclaimed Money Act 1965. So from what we can see in table 16, DG EPS and DPS has been in a decreasing trend for the past 5 years, and its steep drop of EPS from 18.43 cents in 2019 to 15.70 cents in 2020 is due to the drop of service revenue, followed by depreciation charges and some increase of headcounts to better support the growth of company and operation and maintenance costs. However, DG Berhad has been maintaining the dividend payout ratio to almost 100% to its investor as shown in the table. And it is undeniable that DG also suffer from the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the team has drafted a robust and holistic business continuity plan, BCP, to address the potential risk effectively for the company to ensure that the company is functioning well during the pandemic. The competitive telecommunication sector and its industry players are always in the race to become the industry most stable service provider. And currently, all telecom companies are putting their focus to be the first to achieve a 5G service ever-ready provider in Malaysia. So the development of 5G infrastructure requires investment to fund the development and also expansion of telecommunication services. Thus, investors would normally analyze the risk of investment through the analysis of financial performances of a particular company within an industry before making any investment. In conclusion, with the computed result that is presented prior, several interpretations can be concluded based on different investor characteristics and preferences. Investors who prefer a high risk and high return investment would favor to invest in DG Berhad with its computed higher debt to capital and debt to equity ratio. But in return, the DOL is higher with every 1% change in sales. What we can see would bring 6.36% of increase in operating income. The ROA, ROE, and also net profit margin for DG Berhad is also higher compared to Maxis Berhad, which associates with the higher risk that the investor have to absorb. In contrast, investors who prefer lower risk involved in investment would invest in Maxis Berhad due to its lower financial risk associated with what we can see, low DC and DE ratio over the past 5 years, and Maxis uses less debt in financing their day-to-day operation, leaving them to enjoy lesser debt obligations. The third one and the final one would be investor who prefers a higher and stable dividend payout. So this kind of investor would favor to invest in DG Berhad with its constant dividend policies of minimum 80% payout of net earnings to be paid as dividend. So from the past 5 years, we can see that DG has been maintaining a good dividend payout ratio ranging from 99% to 100%. That's all for our presentation today. Thank you.